Hello everyone, let's get going with our February webinar on the topic of VE Day, its impact on how bank holidays fall this year, and a deeper look into bank holidays as a whole from a HR perspective. I'd like to welcome all of you listening and watching today. Thank you for joining us. My name is Abby Ashford and I am a HR consultant for HR Solutions and will be leading the webinar for you today. Sue Watson, our HR Operations Manager, is also with us in the background, as is my colleague Ateem, who is here to field any technical queries you may have. Feel free to use the panel on your screens for this very purpose. Ateem will also be monitoring and collating questions, so do please feel free to send her a message and then I will email you a response after the webinar has concluded. As always, we are recording this session, so it will be available for you to watch again if you wish to, and to share with colleagues if that would be helpful. If anyone wants to contact us afterwards for a copy of the presentation slides, then please note that you are very welcome to do so using the inquiries email address confirmed at the end of the webinar. So on to the content of this webinar then, and looking at the agenda for today, you will see that we start off with a look at the change of bank holiday for this year and what impact that has on us in the world of human resources. Then I will lead on to a second part related to bank holidays to provide the legal basis for what entitlements employees have, how best to manage bank holidays, and provide some useful tips for you by way of addressing frequently asked questions we receive on this topic. The early May bank holiday, usually held on the first Monday of May, has been moved this year to mark the 75th anniversary of VE Day on the day itself. Therefore, across the UK, the bank holiday will fall on Friday, 8th of May 2020, instead of Monday, 4th of May. What is Victory in Europe Day? Well, this was the day towards the end of World War II, when fighting came to an end across Europe. By moving the bank holiday to this day, it allows people across the country to celebrate this momentous occasion in history. Interestingly, it is only the second time the early May bank holiday has had to be moved. The only previous time this has happened was 25 years ago when we celebrated VE Day's 50th anniversary back in 1995. For full-time staff working Monday to Friday, this change in date will not create too much disruption. However, time should be given to look into part-time employees' holiday entitlement and their working patterns, as this change in date could affect their overall annual entitlement. Part-time employees are entitled to a pro rata amount of time for bank holidays equal to a full-time employee. Therefore, for a part-time employee whose contractual working day is a Monday, they will see an increase in their overall entitlement to allow for them having to work on Monday, 4th of May. Whereas a part-time employee who has Friday as a contractual working day will see a decrease in overall holiday entitlement to allow for their time off on Friday, 8th of May. Holiday entitlement for staff who work different hours on different days of the week should also be recalculated to take account of this change. Remember to communicate all changes to staff in good time to ensure harmonious employee relations. Organisations who choose to honour bank holidays on the days they fall will simply need to inform their workforce on which days the bank holidays fall throughout the year. The change to the date for the early May bank holiday is particularly important to ensure that all employees plan to actually attend work on Monday, 4th of May. Early communication of the change in date is advised to ensure that staff can make any necessary arrangements. Other services such as schools, childcare settings or even public transport may be affected. Therefore, if you require your staff to work on Friday 8th of May, they will need sufficient time to make other arrangements. And the school holiday in May is likely to commence from May 25th in many areas, so this change does not impact on that week of annual leave that many employees will have already booked or planned to. Whilst public events are yet to be announced, people may want to celebrate VE Day with friends, family, neighbours, perhaps holding street parties in their village or town. So staff may want to arrange their time off to help organise and attend such events. Staff may have also made plans in advance for Monday 4th of May before this change to the date was announced. Therefore, these should be discussed in a proactive way to explore suitable solutions to any potential issues that may arise. It's advisable that organisations update their holiday calendars, whether this be an online booking system where dates are already input, in which case you may need to liaise with your system provider to ensure a mass update, or your company spreadsheet, paper records, wall planner, whatever you use. Also, don't forget to apply your rules on bank holidays like you would for any other bank holiday that falls on a Friday. For example, the effect of those that finish early on a Friday would need to be looked into. Listening to the changes this year for VE Day may have led you to question what your organisation details in the contract of employment with regards to bank holidays. As we received so many queries throughout the year about this topic alone, we thought it would be useful to give you the lowdown on how to manage this aspect of annual leave. Whilst the majority of organisations give bank holidays on the day that they fall, there is no legal entitlement or statutory right actually for employees to take the time off on that particular day. However, it is stated in the working time regulations that the employee is entitled to the equivalent time off at another point in the year. In this situation, the time is added to the employee's overall holiday entitlement for that holiday year. Staff who are required to work bank holidays are not entitled to any additional pay over and above their normal rate of pay. Of course, you can choose to enhance pay in order to encourage working on a bank holiday. Indeed, some employers pay time and a half or perhaps give lieu days as an incentive. This is normally confirmed in the contract of employment or via a collective or workforce agreement. I'm going to go into some detail now on bank holidays for you. Employees are legally entitled to 5.6 weeks holiday per year. For full-time employees, this equates to 28 days per year, inclusive of the usual 8 bank holidays that fall throughout the calendar year. Employers differ on how they word this in their employment contracts. Depending on how you word this in the contract for full-time employees, this equates either to 28 days per year inclusive of the usual 8 bank holidays, or 20 days plus the 8 bank holidays that fall throughout the year. Obviously, I'm making a presumption here with my examples that there are 8 bank holidays in any given year. Sometimes there are more, and in some parts of the UK there are always more. More on that towards the end of the webinar. Breaking this down even further then, the contract may state holiday entitlement as 28 days holiday inclusive to be taken at any point, or 20 days plus, as I say. And they may go even further to state on which days they usually fall. In the first instance, where it states 28 days inclusive, the change in date of VE bank holiday to Friday 8th of May this year will not have any impact on a full-time employee's working week, as they would likely attend work as normal and take the time off at another point in the year as time off in lieu for the bank holiday. But where specific dates are stated in the contract, organisations should discuss this change as early as possible to ensure they do not find themselves in a situation where employees are contractually entitled to a day off on the 4th of May and available to work on Friday the 8th. In this case, employees can be consulted with to change the date of the bank holiday for this year only, and if done now, there's plenty of time to rectify this. If the contract does not specify when holiday is to be taken, then management must consider custom and practice when deciding how to manage the bank holiday and process holiday requests. This ensures that the organisation acts consistently with what they have done in previous years. For example, the business may close completely, or they may need full staff or skeleton staff perhaps, depending on what the organisation does. Organisations in the care or hospitality sectors would require business as usual in terms of staffing, most probably, whereas, say, a 9-to-5 office role or maybe factory production line may be more likely to be closing their doors. If the organisation is able to allow some staff but not all time off on a bank holiday, then a fair, transparent and consistent approach should be adopted to ensure equal treatment to staff either throughout the year or based on previous years to avoid any discrimination or disgruntled employees. Where staff are required to book time off for bank holidays, employees should do this in the usual way, which could be via online or paper request to their line manager. Management must then assess the requirements of the organisation, for example, their workload, looking at workforce planning data, to either accept or decline the request. If declining the request, it is best practice to provide an explanation for why, to avoid disappointment or demotivation of an employee. I'm going to move on in the webinar now to the useful tips on managing bank holidays that we have picked up from advising our clients over the years. And so the first one is a very frequently asked question, that of, can an employee buy out of their statutory holiday entitlement? No, the answer is no. You cannot buy out of statutory holiday entitlement. Therefore, if you count the bank holidays as part of the statutory holiday entitlement and somebody works on a bank holiday, whilst you are still free to offer a premium or enhanced payment, employees must be given time off in lieu, rather than extra pay in lieu of the holiday, in order to ensure that the requisite number of days statutory holiday are given. Another question we get is, how does the pro rata approach work best? We have so many questions about part-time holiday. And yes, we do find that there is a very easy way, or the most straightforward way of explaining it is to give an example where employers grant paid bank holidays in proportion to the hours worked. Someone working, say, 3 days per week, for example, will get 3/5 of the full-time allocation. This means that if they work on Mondays, they have to use a larger proportion of their annual holiday entitlement to cover the bank holidays, as there are more bank holidays that fall on a Monday. And it's advisable to have a clause in the contract requiring them to do this. Whereas those who work other patterns get more flexibility as to when they take their holiday, but most importantly, they do not receive more paid holiday. That's the key. They all get the same, whether they work on a Monday, whether they work on a Friday. And we consider this pro rata approach to be the fairest. And to avoid doubt, it's worth expressing your holiday entitlement as a total number of days, including the bank holidays within this, for example, 28 days inclusive of bank holidays, and to have a clause saying that time taken off on bank holidays will be automatically deducted from this total entitlement. Moving on to another frequently asked question we receive, and that's for new starters and leavers. How do I calculate leavers and joiners bank holidays? Where an employee leaves or joins part-way through the holiday year, you should double check to see that the employee has received at least the pro rata total amount of statutory holiday and additional statutory holiday due. As bank holidays are not spread evenly throughout the year, you may find it easier to change your contracts to specify an overall entitlement, which includes the bank holidays, to ensure a fair pro rata entitlement is given. So when we talk about additional statutory holiday, that is referring to the bank holidays piece. Another question, are there any problems with running a holiday year from 6th of April? Quite a few of our clients will run a holiday year in line with tax year. So this is asked frequently. Yes, if contracts are based on 20 days plus bank holidays, you will need to take care over the timing of the Easter bank holidays. When Easter falls early, you may find that you have, for example, 10 bank holidays in one holiday year and then only 6 in the next year, meaning that you could breach your statutory obligation to provide 28 days paid leave in each holiday year. In these circumstances, you would need to allow the individual an extra 2 days holiday in the second year to comply with the law. You could require the individual to carry over 2 days leave from the previous year, but only if the contract allows you to do this, and most will not cover that situation. The last time this was an issue wasn't long ago, it was in 2018, where you may remember that Good Friday was on the 30th of March and Easter Monday was on the 2nd of April. The next time this will be an issue for contracts that use such wording from 1st of April or 6th of April will be 2024, when Good Friday is on the 29th of March and Easter Monday is on the 1st of April. This means that for the 2023 to 24 holiday year, you would have 9 bank holidays, and for the next year, which would be 2024 to 25, that holiday year would only have 7. So it's worth thinking it through. Can employees carry over bank holidays not taken during the holiday year? People often get confused with carrying over of holiday, and with bank holidays, we are only focusing on the 1.6 weeks of the 5.6 weeks of statutory annual leave. There is the minimum 4 weeks or 20 days that all full-timers are entitled to. Then there are the bank holidays, usually 8 in England and Wales, that equate to the 1.6 weeks referred to as additional statutory holiday. These 1.6 weeks may be carried over if the employee's contract of employment permits this, or if the employer and the employee agree to it. So what about, can an employee refuse to work on a bank holiday? And this does happen. If an employee is required to work on bank holidays under the terms of their employment contract, the employee cannot refuse to work even for religious reasons. Got a however here though. However, employers should be aware that a refusal to grant Christian employees time off for any of the bank holidays with religious significance could amount to an indirect religious discrimination if it places them at a particular disadvantage when compared with employees of other faiths or non-religious employees. I mentioned earlier that the total amount of bank holidays can differ between countries. Well, I will finish our webinar today with this slide and the next one for clarification purposes. As if you Google search this sort of thing, you might find different answers depending on the year and your holiday year. So if we're feeling competitive, the unlucky ones are those in England and Wales who get 8 bank holidays. Those in Scotland receive 9. And winning employees who live in Northern Ireland get 10. The dates are published each year on the gov.uk website. Finally, a reminder of this year's bank holidays in 2020. So you can see all 8, 9 or 10 bank holidays for the part of the UK that you are in or where you employ workers on one slide. That completes the information on VE Day and bank holidays for you today. I hope you found this update informative and helpful on the overall topic of additional statutory leave. For those listening and watching who are already clients or subscribers of ours, thank you for joining us again today, and please do contact us in the usual way if you have any follow-up queries. If you aren't with us already but would like to ask a question or are interested in our services, then please do contact us at inquiries@hrsolutions-uk.com. You can also use this email address to request a copy of our slides, and you can watch, listen, forward our webinar recording from today by heading to our main website at www.hrsolutions-uk.com and clicking on resources and then video and webinar archive. You can join HR Solutions if you'd like to find out about recent and forthcoming changes to UK employment law. You can get practical guidance on how to protect your business from the risk of employee claims. Our HR consultants will also be on hand to provide advice on any HR issues that you wish to discuss at our forthcoming employment law seminars. We are heading to Birmingham, Northampton and London over the coming months. I myself will be at the Birmingham one. Would love to see anybody answer your questions in person. And this is free for subscribers to our HR knowledge base. In terms of upcoming webinars, you can sign up on the events page on our knowledge base. The next webinar that we have planned next month on the 12th of March is to give an overview on IR35 and the implications for human resources. This webinar and all of our previous webinars are recorded. We have a huge bank of them now, and these can be found on our knowledge base. The link is the first one on the slide you can see there, and I've listed the most recent webinars on your screen to give you a flavour of what we have presented on recently. Whilst the webinars are relevant to the time that they were recorded, the information that you will watch again are still wholly relevant in terms of legal compliance and practicality. Earlier I mentioned how crucial it is to have the right wording in your employment contracts based on how you want to run your organisation and direct your employees as to how aspects of working life will flow. We have learnt today that just the way annual leave is termed in a contract can mean very different things and possibly tie you down on the one hand or provide flexibility on the other. If you wish to have an audit of all elements of HR in your organisation, you can complete our free HR risk and compliance audit. There is a section in there on employment contracts and on annual leave. And the first link there, the Microsoft CRM portals, is the one that takes you to our knowledge base. All I have left to say is thank you for listening, and that I hope you found today's webinar informative. Thank you.